Hi everyone. Today I'll be looking at a concept in psychoanalysis. Last time I looked at the symbolic order and its function in the upbringing of the infant. We looked at the infant that enters into the world of symbols, the world of meaning, and the word of meaning that is peculiar to their to its species, and we looked at how the symbolic order can be simple and complex, and how the complexity can detach the organism or species from the reality of its biology and its physical environment. We said that the symbolic order this is a group or sets of rules, norms, customs that direct the life of an organism or the life of a species as a whole. Now, we said that the human subject or the human animal is sort of different from other animals in the sense that it lives most of its life in the realm of the social, of language, of symbols, of meaning, and in doing so, uh, go further from what the biology that he is, that she is, um, what it demands from him or her. So today we'll be looking at three different concepts: the ego ID, the ID ego, and the super ego. This particular concept, this concepts, the three concepts themselves, we are taken from um, Sigmund Freud's work, Jack Lacan of the Lacanian psychoanalysis, um, only brought different lights to the concept, and you sort of sharpen the edges, and in some other places we conceptualize it entirely. I would like to speak less grammar, so I will be missing what I will be saying with a little bit of Nigeria pidgin, and I hope we are able to get through in the end. So let's look at the first concept, which I will call the ideal ego. I think it's quite the most simplest in the three, the ideal ego. What do we mean by the ideal ego? Now, when we talk about ego in psychoanalysis, we do not talk about it in the sense of pride, but we talk about it in the sense of persona, in the sense of how you see yourself, or rather how you deploy yourself, your part of your personality that that serves as a manager for the things, for the tasks that you have to do socially and individually. In a sense that I have an ego, and the ego can be called best. Another person has their ego. The inflation of this ego might be said to be pride, but we do not reduce the word ego to just that in the way it is used in everyday language. What psychoanalysis mean by ego is a subset of the personality that is used as a sort of avatar in the social world, and it is a sort of arbitrary, or rather a middleman between the real of the biology, the real of the drives of what you are biologically, and what you are physically, to the real of the social space that you find yourself as a social being, as a species that is that lives in the collectives, in the collective. Now, so what is the ego ideal that we are talking about here, and what how does it come into play? The ego ideal. Oh, sorry, I said the ideal ego first. We'll talk about the ideal ego first. The ideal ego in itself is that particular image of yourself that you see. You might have an image of yourself that you want to be in the future, that you feel you are now, that you want to imitate, that you want to have proximity with. This might You might use someone's image, if a celebrity, an actor, an artist, as someone that helps you to pin this image down in the physical world, so that it will be easier for you to work towards it. So this is what we mean by the ID ego. In fact, your relation with this ID ego is um one of jouissance. I will explain what jouissance is. Don't be alarmed. So when we talk about jouissance, or let me use pidgin here. So when you dey talk say I wan be this person, in a certain sense, whatsoever you wan be, you no go ever be that person. You get am? You no go ever be that person. In the sense that if you don be that person, you go come still dey find another thing wey you wan be, make e still dey higher than that person. So there is a continuous moving forward towards what the this ID ego demands from us. Then okay, for example, you might ask if you ask children for Nigeria these days, wetin you wan be? I wan be a doctor. Wetin you wan be? I wan be lawyer. I wan be engineer. I wan be this. I wan be that. So you realize that all these things wey dem wan be, now wetin dem dey work towards, or maybe for some, most children, especially when they never really wan be anything, they never really get any um uh, uh ambition for life. They use this one, they just give. As soon as you ask them, say, wetin you wan be if you grow up? They'll just give you as if say na answer. As if say if they ask you, if they greet you good morning, you say thank you or good morning back. No, it can't become cliche, it can't lose its meaning. But in the end, wetin suppose serve for, not be wetin dey serve for. But there e get some kind kids, maybe those ones wey don dey SS, when you ask them wetin they wan be, they say they wan be doctor. Some of them dey work towards being this doctor. They might actually try and fail and give up. Some might try, fail and continue. Some might just try and and realize that they are good in it. Especially it depends on the environment that they find themselves in though. But in any sense, these kids have an ID ego, an ego that they want to be. They might have somebody named Neil Armstrong, the astrophysicist, Ben Carson. They use these people as a place of an image of what they want to be, an image of the ID ego, and they work towards it. So now, this is what I'm talking about when I say the ID ego. And the ID ego, for example, is something that comes up when you are something that becomes mature when you are mature, in the sense of when you become mature in growing up, in becoming an adult. But in Lacanian psychoanalysis, Lacan emphasized a particular mist in the development of the infant, which he called the mirror stage, where he thought that the ego was created from a sort of reflection, a sort of way in which the infant saw himself in the world and take this image as an image of as the way some people would take the image of Ben Carson. It's a mist though, but it's a mist that tries to explain the dynamics of or the mechanisms of human development. The psychologists, they've studied this and they try to make sense of it. And in doing so, sometimes myths are very helpful. So he says that just imagine that a kid or seeing himself in the mirror that is on the wall, reflection of himself, and realizing that he is this person, someone that is fully integrated with hands, legs, and everything, and so gives the kid a certain sense of organized motor skill, in the sense that you cannot have, for example, I'll give you this. To play table tennis alone does not demand your hands, your eyes, your hand. They must be of perfect coordination for this to happen. And it must come from an awareness of you being a whole, even when different parts of you are doing something, or even when different parts of you are involved in something, that you feel that you are integrated in this way. Even the different parts of your body are integrated into a single system. But with the kids, the carnal psychoanalyst, I do not believe that the kids has a very developed motor function in this way. What I mean by motor function is the way you use your body to or do certain things. So they don't believe there's an integration of the different parts of the body. So in the mind of the infant is like something that is chopped into pieces, and or rather, even when it does things that have a little bit of coordination, there is still not a representative of the wholeness of the body, of the wholeness of the organism, a representation of this wholeness in the psyche, in the mind. And so they use this means to try to say that this particular period in the development of the infant brings about a certain coordination in the motor skill of the infant, because it also brings about a certain integration, a certain organization that comes about by integrating different parts of the body. So in this certain sense, there is an internalization of your own body image. That is first. This is why in Freudian psychoanalysis they said that the ego is first a body ego. That is, the ego, before it is developed into something that is functional socially, it is first a body ego. It is first an ego that is that is bodily, that is whole, that is reflected towards the infant, and it is from this place that the infant is able to perpetrate itself in this sense. Now, when we say the mirror, we are not really restricting it to the mirror. For example, when you do something nice and you get applause from your parents, for example, when you take a step, when you stand up, you see your parents excited, you see them calling your name. All these are they are reflecting something that they see themselves in your eyes, and in doing so tries to repeat it. In this certain sense, there is still can still be categorized as part of the mirror stage. But this is a little bit far from what we are trying to talk about, though this talks about the ego, and we are also talking about the ideal ego. So the ideal ego is this something that is ideal for you, the standard of what you want to be. But when we talk about the ego ID, it is something different entirely. The ego ID is what gives relevance to this your ID ego. Why is it that being a doctor is something that is lucrative, something that brings societal respect and societal acceptance? Why is it that being a lawyer, being an engineer, in fact, it is because of this relevance that these occupations, that these professions have, that allows it to be propagated in the social, in the collective, as a desire. And this is why in psychoanalysis, desire, especially in Lacanian psychoanalysis, desire is not really something that emanates from inside. It is something that we internalize, and that, or rather, that is as a result of the movement of meaning, the movement of language. For example, if you are poor, there is a likelihood that you desire a situation where you will be out of this poverty, maybe through a certain motif. In the sense of, when I say motif, I'm talking about people thinking, having this Cinderella motif of a prince taking you from this, of a prince loving you regardless of you coming from the dead, or this motif, especially for the male side, where you think that where you think that you are the diamond in the dust, you are the exception. So there is this way that you desire are not something that is new. That's why some people say they are nothing new in under the sun. It's not something that is new. It's something that has been passed down from stories, from different. All our stories have this sort of format, this sort of tropes, this sort of motifs that when we also desire as a person that is found in the collective in which this sort of symbolization is done, we desire in this way too. That is why it's somehow really very difficult for me when I see my kids, when they ask them, what do you want to be? Say a doctor. It's very cliche. And I'm kind of someone that like not to be predicted. But it doesn't mean being a doctor is bad or wrong. But I'm just saying this in sense of trying to make sense of what we are talking about. So I said the ego ID is what gives relevance to the ID ego. It's what makes it significant in this way. For example, when you ask someone, why do you want to be a doctor? Some people will tell you, I want to save life. because saving life is something that is prioritized in that particular and in the way you are saving life is something that is prioritized in that particular social sphere. It is likely that your desire or the relevance, the esteem that is given to that particular profession is because of this norm. So the symbolic order that we talked about before is a collection of a lot of things, a collection of images, collection of idea egos that are prop up, that are hierarchized in the sense of don't mind this my language. Put if you put something in some sort of scale, sort of grading, that this one is more than this one is more than this. What gives the different levels of this particular scale a value is this ego ID. Now, I will talk about how the ego ID can be incarnated in just one concept. But for now, I want you to understand what it stands for in relation to the ID, to the ID ego that we talked about before. So